हूँ कि आज का जो ये वेबिनार है हम सभी के लिए बहुत ही प्रेरणादायक और बहुत ही लाभदायक होगा। इसके लिए फिर एक बार संस्कृत विभाग को बहुत बहुत आभार और बहुत बहुत बधाई। एनवी कृष्णा जी का फिर एक बार बहुत स्वागत और आप सभी को हार्दिक धन्यवाद इस अवसर के लिए। धन्यवाद। धन्यवाद सर।
Thank you, ma'am, for the constant support, and thank you, Ananta Krishna Garu, for accepting our invite. Now, I'm going to say some few words about NV Ananta Krishna Garu. He is a practicing advocate in Honorable High Court at Hyderabad, looking into matters relating to constitution, civil, criminal, and also service issues. He also has a sufficient work in the original jurisdiction in all the courts and legal forums in Hyderabad. He holds a master's degrees in law, Sanskrit, psychology. He did his postgraduate diploma in alternative disputes resolutions from NALSA and postgraduate diploma in cyber laws, property rights from Hyderabad Central University. He has a flair for teaching and had been teaching various subjects in commerce stream since the year 1976. Some of his students have been working as lecturers in reputed colleges in and around Hyderabad. He also did numerous seminars and workshops for students on contemporary topics and on personality development. Family and educational counseling is one more area of interest and has active participation. He had been a guest speaker in various organizations, including the State Bank Institute of Information and Communication Management, various engineering and postgraduate colleges. He was also a resource person handling various subjects of the postgraduate diploma in cyber laws and intellectual property rights at Hyderabad Central University. He has a flair towards reading books, general and philosophical. He's author of 5 Shatakas compilation of 100 poems, Lalita Padamula Madi, Lalita Golutu, Varasiddhi Vinayaka Bhakta Palaka, Bhaskaraditya Ghrani Sanyar Bhakta Varada, Sreyaskara Sridhara, Isha Bhakta Kalpadruma Makutalat, Bangaru Konda Shatakam for children, and acclaimed by many literary stalwarts for their standard of presentation and content. He gives discourses on spiritual topics at various places on invitation. He is also secretary of Anant Educational Society and founder chairman of Anant Charitable Trust. A part of his income is redirected through this trust for the welfare and educational needs of poor children. He is the founder secretary of the Center for Alternative Disputes Resolution and Education, and dealing in free counseling services, disputes resolutions for the poor and needy, as also for senior citizens who cannot afford litigation expenses for others and for commercial disputes at very nominal charges. He enjoys being co-admin in a Facebook group called Prajapatyam, working for the cause of using poetry as a tool for social cause. This group organizes competitions periodically in getting participating poets to write poems on contemporary subjects and for benefit of society as a whole. It also organizes poets meet Kavi Sammelanam styled Samajika Padya Sudha Sravanti and inauguration of various books authored by its members. You may search YouTube Naramanchi Anantakrishna to see his channel and explore his playlist to see variety of topics he spoke on. He flared towards propagation of Sanskrit knowledge. He started a small group called Sanskrita Kutumbam, where his children, grandchildren, and other relatives meet daily on Zoom and learn to speak Sanskrit on the lines of learning mother tongue without reference to textbooks or any other study material. He coined a new word called individual social responsibility on lines of corporate social responsibility. The purpose is to say that every individual has a responsibility towards the society. Under this caption, he conducted more than 8 series of talks on the new national educational policy, inviting senior professors and educationalists from across the country and discussed various facets of the new policy. A detailed report was submitted to the government on these discussions. Now I request N.V. Ananthakrishna Garu continue with the session. Thank you. Sir.
Ananthakrishna garu speaker on cheyaledu meer.
Unmute sir.
Thank you for that information. At the outset, I thank Kasturba Gandhi Degree and PG College for Women Secunderabad for having organized such a wonderful webinar, national webinar by the Sanskrit department of the college. I particularly thank the principal, the coordinator, Dr. Rajashri, the convener, Ms. Shushma, for having taken all pains to take up such a wonderful topic called Yadi Hasti Tadanyatra Yanne Hasti Na Tat Kvachit. Now, this is a wonderful topic for the reason that it first of all gives us a curiosity to know what exactly is this. Well, this is a topic on Sanskrit. I can also say some words in Sanskrit, but taking the view that many of the students from across the country are participating and they may not get the entire input, I would like to speak both in Telugu, English and Sanskrit, if that is okay for the organizers. Okay. Now, what exactly is this? What does it mean? Yadi hasti, yad iha asti, tadanyatra, yad neha asti, tannatat kvachit. So whatever is there in this is available elsewhere in the world. And whatever is not found in this is not found elsewhere in this. Is this a small statement? No. This cannot be termed as a small statement because it is said by none other than Vyasa. And what can we name it? This can be called as a pratignya, a vow, saying that this is what I am going to tell you. Now the question immediately arises in our mind, particularly in the minds of children and students. How is it possible? I am born in 1978, 1982. How can he talk about me? I am not found in Mahabharata. So these are all the confusion statements that may arise in the minds of certain children. Anyway, but that is not the purport of this statement. So now, what should we see? The entire stanza that is written has to be looked into to understand what Vyasa imports. Dharme cha arthe cha kame cha mokshe cha bharatarshabha yadiha asti tadanyatra yanneha asti na tat kvachit. This is the total stanza. What does this mean? It says that in respect of dharma, in respect of artha, in respect of kama, in respect of moksha. These are the four parameters. Why these four parameters? They are called purusharthas. Purusharthas means these are the ultimate requirements of any human being. This ultimate requirement of any human being does not relate to either any religion, any caste or creed or country or whatever the discrimination you want to make. They are above that. Everybody on the face of the earth do look at this dharma, artha, kama and moksha. So therefore, what he says is, in respect of these four items, there is nothing left unsaid in this text. That is the authority with which the present statement or the present vow is taken by Vyasacharya. Now, how does we see this? Where is this actually said? He said this in Adi Parva in 56th Adhyaya as 33rd sloka. Dharme cha arthe cha kame cha mokshe cha bharatarshabha yadi hasti tadanyatra yanne hasti natat kvachet. This is what Vyasacharya said. And there were so many translations for Mahabharata because of its purport and import of knowledge. It's a wealth and encyclopedia of knowledge. And therefore, it was translated into many languages, including Telugu. And three great personalities, Nannaya, Tikkanna, and Erra Pragada, they translated this into Telugu language. For this, there is a wonderful small poem written by Tikkana insofar as this particular sloka is concerned. Amala dharmartha kama moksha mula gurichi. Amala, untainted. So don't taint your dharma, don't taint your artha, don't taint your kama, don't taint your moksha. That type of dharma, artha, kama, moksha mula gurichi. Yalayu teru veddi yunu nindu galadu. Everything that is concerned with this is there in this. Adiya yundadala kalgudina lekundata chuppu. If this is not found in this, you cannot find it elsewhere. Dadu konkantanu ledu veda vignulara. This is what he says in the first adhyaya of Swargarohana Parva as 82nd poem. Now, how Mahabharata is looked at, how people look at Mahabharata. Mahabharata is a code of conduct encyclopedia. As I said earlier a little while ago, it is no way connected to caste, creed, color, race, country, whatever the discrimination you want to make, whatever the classification you want to make, forget about them. Now, how people look at it. Nannaya says in a poem, I don't want to repeat the poem again, Dharmajnulu Dharma Shastramani. Those who want to know about Dharma, they consider Mahabharata as a encyclopedia of Dharma Shastra. Atmajnanulu Vedantamani. Now, those who want liberation, moksha is one of the 4 parameters, Purushartha it is called. They consider this as a Vedantic scripture. Niti ko vidulu niti shastramani. Whether you want dharma, kama or artha, you should be very righteous. So Niti Shastra is what is looked at Mahabharata by many people who want to look at Niti, the righteousness. Then the poets, they look this as a Mahakavya, a big poetical work. Then, is it a historical text? Yes. The historians looked at this as a historical text. And people who believe it as Purana, they consider it as Purana. And what else it contains? It is also called as Sarva Lakshana Grantha, having everything, the descriptive portion of anything. Sarva Lakshana. Lakshana and Lakshya are the 2 words technically used. That means if you want to look at something, you must know the features of it. So that is called a Lakshya Lakshana technically. And let me also warn you at this juncture that so many Sanskrit words, they cannot be exactly translated into any other language, be it Telugu, be it English, be it Urdu, be it Hindi, be it any language. So the beauty of the word can be well understood and the purport of the word can be well understood only and only when it is used in Sanskrit. It is true with other languages as well. I am not going to the other languages. For the time being, let us restrict to Sanskrit. So this is how the entire Mahabharata is looked at by public. So what is this? The difficulty in understanding a situation is because of our ignorance. Many people keep aside these encyclopedias of knowledge as something connected to religion, and they in the process lose the purport, they lose the benefit of those texts. Now, because this is related to, is written in the background of Kaurava and Pandava story, let us also talk a little in a minute about what is the genesis of this text. The first and foremost text, unwritten text, as it is believed that it is an unspoken text by the God himself. Apaurusheya is what it is said, is Veda. And in these Vedas, in these Vedas, the basic thing is it talks about only two things. It talks about only two things. What are they? They are called Vidhi and Nishedha. So the do's and don'ts. In simple terms, it is the do's and don'ts of every human being. No religion here again. Let me warn you again and again. So the do's and don'ts, Vidhi and Nishedha. And how does Veda say about this? It says like a king. It says just do it and just don't do it. That's it. And what are the two major things that are spoken is, one is Satyam Vada, speak the truth, only truth. And the second one is Dharmam Chara, follow Dharma. Follow means somebody observing it and we simply look at them is not following Dharma. You have to practically implement Dharma is what Dharmam Chara. And this is said by Veda as a commandment. But then subsequently, Puranas have come into play, where the very same the text which is said as an authority is translated into a story format and is said in the manner that a friend counsels another friend. This is called Mitra Samhita. One is called Prabhu Samhita, the other is called Mitra Samhita. And subsequently, even this very same purport, do's and don'ts, are translated into kavyas. These kavyas go like, is called Kanta Samhitas. Let us not worry about it for a moment. Now we'll let us just stick to Mahabharata. So therefore, this tells like, may request the coordinator to mute the other friends. There are some other voices going on, or at least let other friends mute themselves. Okay. Thank you and sorry for the interruption. Now, so therefore what happens? It is the Veda Pramana, Prabhu Samhita, Mitra Samhita and Kanta Samhitas. Satyam Vada and Dharmanchara. And what does this text we are referring to deal with is Dharmam Chara. Well, Ramayana is a text on Satyam Vada. That's not our topic now. Dharmam Chara is the basic commandment that is elaborately discussed more than a lakh of slokas. That is why it is called Mahabharata. Then what are Purusharthas? They are the ultimate requirements of any human being. Any human being. Then what are these four things? Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. Once we say Dharma, never mistake Dharma in isolation. In Sanskrit expression, there are certain technical keywords. One such keywords is that Upalakshanam. Upalakshanam means when there are a group of things that have to be referred, if one among them is referred to, it means that the entire other group members also are referred to in this. So when you refer Dharma, it refers to Dharma, Artha, Kama and Moksha as well. Why? How can it be, sir? How can Dharma represent Kama? How can Dharma represent Artha? How can Dharma represent Moksha? Look, if you have to earn money, let us take Artha for a small example before we go into detail. If you want to earn money, Artha, you should have a desire. Kama. And what is the purpose? To have freedom, whether it is a freedom that is connected to the worldly freedom or a liberation as spoken by various scriptures and religions. This anything of that, let us go by it. So therefore, you must have a thought first. That should be pristine, that should be clear, that should be untainted. So that is where Dharma operates over there. Then when you are earning money, you should be righteous in your earnings. So these are all the things we'll look into a little later. So now what happens in this colossal text is that there are so many characters. The primary characters are Dharma Raja, Arjuna, Bhima, Nakula, Sahadeva, Krishna, and that is Pandavas and Kauravas. Bhishma is there, Vidura is there, and you can also find Dhritarashtra there, over there. So there are certain important characters, and there is Drona, Ashwathama. So let us go in detail. Karna. These are all the characters. They have a name. They have a role. Now, many of our friends sitting over here, young students, they are very, very clear in their minds that they want to learn computers. They learn computer languages. Don't worry, I am not jumping from Mahabharata to computers. So computers, when you coding part of the computer is concerned, today we have a concept called what? Each piece by piece they have, and they have connectivity. So they will write a small code, they encapsulate it with something. So some code will be there. If you supply to it 2, 3, it will give you 6. If this code is containing that multiplication code. If it is an addition code, you supply whether 2, 3, it will give you 5 as a result. And if you give some other number, it gives the same some other result. This code is not changing. The inputs are changing, the result output is changing, but the code remains the same. Exactly the same way, these characters in Mahabharata are relatable to every human being. If I look from my angle, I find a character which suits my personality, maybe in one personality, or maybe in combination of 2 or 3 characters over there, whatever. But ultimately, I can identify myself and my behavioral pattern. Please understand this word. My behavioral pattern, my result that I am going to get out of that are very well depicted in this text. This is the beauty of Mahabharata. That is why it is called the statement which you have captioned in your seminar. Now, how do we look at it? While Mahabharata is written as small stories, small events, certain characters. So it's a combination of isolated story. You can read the story in isolation. It has its relation with the main story, just similar to that of your separate coding patterns and linking it to the major program, whatever. But they are not limited by the time when Mahabharata happened. It has an universal application. What it contains. Now let us start with dharma. What sort of dharma it should be? Take me Ananta Krishna. Who am I? Let me put a question to myself. Who am I? I am Ananta Krishna. As simple as that. What is there? Sorry. Today, your principal and your organizers of this webinar are looking at me as a speaker. The rest of my traits are no way concerned to them. And when I talk to my child, she looks at me, or my son looks at me as a father. Did I change? No. The way people look at me change. Similarly, in a situation, in a context, how you look at it, how you reach that topic, how you reach that problem, how you try to analyze that problem, how you handle that problem makes a lot of difference. And what plays a role in such an approach? And what sort of thing plays a role that it plays when you want to handle an equation in a particular format? It's an experience of everybody in the world that each person has an independent style of functioning, reception and reflection on a problem. If I am able to convince you on this one sentence, every person, I'll repeat for your benefit, every person is going to handle a problem in his own style. His perception levels are different. His approach to the problem is different. His methodology of finding a solution is different. Now, if you have n number of options on these parameters, which is the right one? Which one you have to choose? A person may choose that come what may, let the whole world go to hell. I'm not bothered. If this suits me alone, I'm happy about it. Probably this is one of the methods in which we try to approach a problem. Somebody else may approach a problem, if not me, if not you. this is where the mind that is playing or operating is called tamasa guna. And somebody may do it in a different pattern better than this. That let me show my authority by dealing this. Let other not people not underestimate me. Let them identify that yes, I can deal with this. I can deal with this. I am competent to do this. Probably these are the lines on which he may approach. This is a model where the Rajasa guna in a person is expressed and exhibited. Somebody else may be there. Forget about everything. Let there be a universal peace. Let everybody be benefited. Let there be a common thing that helps each and every person who is involved with this. Maybe somebody else is thinking like that. Unfortunately, people thinking on these lines are diminishing day by day, and that is where the context of this topic plays a very, very important role to put us back on rails to think for global peace, global benefit. Everybody around us should be comfortable, including us. That is how I once again appreciate the organizers for their wonderful selection of the topic. Well, now this is called Sattva Guna operating on the person. So now let us see what again? We want dharma, we want artha, we want kama, and we want moksha. 4 parameters. And these 4 parameters are, how are they influenced? By our Sattva Guna, or by our Rajo Guna, or by our Tamo Guna. Now, dharma, artha, kama, and moksha. I'm sorry, don't mistake me, my dear friends. I may be repeating a statement a couple of times. It is not because I want to kill the time and spend the 1.5 hours somehow or the other, because I have a text backing me with 1 lakh stanzas. So 1.5 hours is not sufficient. Probably 1.5 years also may not be sufficient. But the repetition is for your benefit, that the concepts which are taught are being spoken of by Mahabharata have to sink into your mind. Then alone it will be beneficial to you, that you will try to put it into practice in your realistic life. So my purport is not to speak something, spend somehow or the other 1.5 hours and get out, but to see that at least one or the other point which I am trying to present before you with all my humbleness and humility at my command will help you in your life to shape you better than what you are today. I never said you are a bad person today. I said you to shape you better than what you are today. There is a scope for improvement at every point of time. That's the purpose. Anyway, coming back, this Sattva Guna, Tamo Guna, Rajo Guna, are they in watertight compartments? No. The Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha, are they in watertight compartments? No. So now what happens? You can create your, any mathematical student will help you in doing this. The permutation combinations, these things will get. So many combinations you can work out. So many characters are available in the world. But the rishis said they have seen the whole world and classified them for our better understanding as Sattva Guna, Rajo Guna, and Tamo Guna. In Mahabharata, these 3 gunas, and then how you relate yourself to the society. What is your role play in the society as a part of the society? You may be a good counselor. You may be a very good administrator. You may be a very good businessman. You may be a very good service personality. Can the society dispense with these roles? Don't you require a counselor when you are in trouble? Don't you require a person who will command and see that everything are in place? Don't you require a person who does business and give food, shelter, etc.? Don't you require a person who will give you, who will do some service to you? Look at a person sitting in the railway booking counter, he is doing some service to you. A clerk sitting in the banking counter is doing some service to you. So similarly, these 4 things are called certain dharmas. You have to give some name. See, my parents gave me a name as Ananta Krishna. I am known as Ananta Krishna. Had they given me some other name, probably I would have been known to the society by that name. This is how 4 Varna Ashrama dharmas have come into operation. people call it as Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Sudra. Don't ever commit the mistake of understanding the way they are today depicted by the politicians for their dirty benefits. That is not the purport of any scripture. It is the role play. A person who is playing a particular role is known by their dharma. That is how Janmana Jayate Sudraha iti. There is a sloka. Let us not go into those details. But these are the. Now, why I am adding these four? Is it essential, sir? Yes, it is essential because these four roles are essential. These four requirements of dharma, artha, kama, moksha are essential. They are influenced by our mental faculty, that is sattva-guna, rajoguna, and tamoguna. Now, these make a lot of combinations, permutations, and combinations. Sit in isolation and think. Your X-ray sheet is right before you. Don't need to go for any X-ray or CT scan for this. Your mind will reflect and show us. This is how it works. The combination of all these are various characters in Mahabharata and the various characters in and around the world. So Mahabharata is, where is Mahabharata? It is not in that particular period when it was written. It is existing even today. That is Mahabharata. And therefore, what is required? Even today, dharma is required, artha is required, kama is required, and moksha is required. Now, so we play different roles in the society, and this role play has to be in such a fashion that you live better living and you make people around you also to live happily. You now go to a temple or go to a cinema hall. Why temple? Let us not put temple now. Let us go to a cinema hall. Let us stand in a queue for a visualize that we are standing in a queue. Somebody else will push the queue and try to go to the booking window. The tamoguna in him is acting there, causing trouble to everybody in this society. You can also see these attitudes near a buffet dinner very well. Now, why I am trying to give these nonsensical examples? I know that these are nonsensical examples, but yet I am giving because the tamoguna is operating, the rajoguna is operating, the sattva-guna is operating. Somebody else will take his plate, keep away till everything is cleared. His sattva-guna is operating over that fellow. Now, what I am trying to tell is, you can look at these gunas, you can look at these criteria in yourself, and mind you, you will not behave sattva-guna, you will not exhibit rajoguna, you will not exhibit tamoguna alone. You are a combination of them. And what guna is more predominant in you makes your major personality. Don't you think a great person, Sattvic, will ever not get any anger? No, he does. But for what? Panadharma. So his anger is there. He may get excited by the tamoguna, but for a different context. A soldier killing somebody and a terrorist killing somebody, killing is the common denominator, but the role play and the purpose are different. You understand this by this. So this is the minute detail with which the explanations go. And the next point over here is, how do we decide on this? What role and what exactly does play on us? In English, we call it mind. We also may use the word intellect. In Sanskrit, this faculty is classified into 4 heads. Mano, buddhi, ahankara, chittam. I will restrict and use the Sanskrit words. Mano, buddhi, ahankara, and chitta. What does manas do that? The role of manas is, it is an oscillatory thing. It sees everything and it wants everything. If somebody is rich, I want to become rich. If somebody has a Mercedes, I want to have a Mercedes. I am not worried whether I can afford to it or not. My mind says, Ananta Krishna, why don't you purchase a Mercedes? Well, I may not be in a position to purchase even a Lambretta or a scooter. Many of you might not have heard the word Lambretta. It was a scooter long ago when my father used to ride me on that Lambretta. So saying Lambretta, I correct my father. That's one part. Right. Now, this is this is what it requires. It only intends, it requires. But then Buddhi comes into play and says, Ananta Krishna, you don't have money. How do you get this? So there is a discriminatory function that is called Buddhi. This Buddhi discriminates between the right and wrong, good and bad, everything. And if our discrimination faculty is bad, is not in proper shape, our decision making is changing. So this has a role on your personality development. My dear young students, this is nothing but, Mahabharata is nothing but a codified version of a magnum opus of personality development. You need not pay 20,000, 1 lakh rupees for your personal development. Read these textbooks. You make yourself a wonderful personality. Anyway, I am not promoting that area, nor am I trying to cause loss to my friends who are doing this business. Anyway, now where are we? The mind and Buddhi, Manasu Buddhi. Then, who will do this? Ananta Krishna is doing this. I paid 1 lakh rupees for flood donation. I donated blood to somebody of my friend who is in distress in Apollo Hospital. I did this. This I factor which works on us is called Ahamkara. Ahamkara. Aham means I, that's it. So don't mistake Sanskrit word as something which is connected to somebody. No, it is universal. Ahamkara, that is I factor. I am doing this. Then when these three things do this, what happens? Did you understand or did you notice that I was talking about Lambretta scooter? I am conscious of using this word. And I said, when I talk about Lambretta scooter, I remembered my father. How did I remember? Where from I got this? The experiences we get in a day-to-day life, they get consolidated, they get impressions on our mind. This is called the collection of information. It's a storehouse, and let me tell you, you cannot define this in GB, MB, TB, or whatever B you want to call it. These bytes cannot measure the quantity of our brain. Such a huge stock of information we hold in it. This is called Chittam. This is where we store all our experiences. When a person goes out, he runs away from dogs because his samskara, the chitta, has an impression in the mind that if you go near a dog, it bites you. And he saw somebody probably, or he might have heard somebody probably, that if dog bites, he has a lot of very grievous problems. So this chitta which stored this samskara is speaking on what? Go back again. Go back again. It speaks on when it operates on your discriminatory factor called buddhi. And then Ahankara says, do this or don't do this. I am doing this or I am not going to do this. So the samskara has a role to play, which we not identify. And such a samskara is influenced by the experiences. Rather, it is the storehouse of your experiences. Experience comes out of what? Your behavior. Your behavior comes out of what? Go back to the basics. It is sattva guna, samaguna, and rajoguna. This is how we have to analyze point by point. Then our real character would come out. Now we know where we are. And once we know where we are, we know where we have to go. See, supposing I have to come to Kasturba College and ask somebody in the student of Kasturba College, hello, I have to go to and do a seminar in Kasturba College. Can you guide me? He immediately says, take 93 number bus, get down at Secunderabad, walk down, you are in Kasturba College. Probably. Let us hypothetically take this. Is he wrong? No, he is right, because he gave me the route map from his house. but I stay quite opposite to his, I mean diagonally opposite place. Can I reach to 93 bus? Probably I would be crossing Kasturba College to reach to get the bus stop which he is referring to. So therefore, it is always known to unknown. Known to whom? Not to world, but to ourselves. So this is where we have to introspect. Don't worry, I am not deviating from the subject. This man who has to talk on Mahabharata and Yadihasti tadanyatra yannehasti tadnatat kvachit. That few words, the 16 lettered stanza, half part of the stanza imports all this stuff. And that takes to the first part of the stanza, dharme chardhe chaicha, etc. Only this stuff. So that is the ultimate result. These are the basic ingredients that are required. So it is something like we are collecting the vegetables, we are collecting masala, etc. to cook a wonderful Hyderabadi biryani. Okay. Now, so the discriminatory mind is there, the experiences are there, the I, the doer is there, and the wants are there. How wants are categorized, how wants are either rejected or required, the faculty that operates on us is the Sattva, Rajas, Tamo gunas. And while doing this, with the combination, whether we are doing it in dharma manner or adharma manner. Look at this character called Karna. And we are talking about dharma, we'll go to that as well.
5 నిమిషాలు ఊరికే అటెండ్ అయినట్టు పెట్టండి క్లాస్ అది తీసుకుంటారు కదా
Please madam,
అప్పుడు లైసెన్స్ సర్టిఫికెట్ కదా అది
please madam, may I request
అవునా
Radha madam. I think I am seeing the name Radha madam who is speaking. Let her might be muted, please. Thank you. I'm sorry for the interruption. Now, how are dharmas there? What sort of dharmas are available? One dharma? No. There are so many dharmas, like Jnati dharma, Kutumba dharma. You remember I told you earlier, a little earlier, that how do you look at me? My children look at me as father, my wife looks at me as a husband, my parents look at me as a son, and you look as a speaker, whatever. And the person who invited me look at me as a friend or whatever. So as I am playing that role, I am not changing. My physical shape is not changing, but my mental character is changing to suit that particular role. Understand this basic thing. So how do I change? You change not in your physical form, but in your mental plane. Kutumba dharma, Jnati dharma, Putra dharma, Mitra dharma, Pitru dharma, Matru dharma, Shishya dharma, Guru dharma, Bhratru dharma, Bhrutya dharma, Raja dharma. Enough. I give so many examples. You can add any number with a prefix and dharma. They have, and again these are not watertight compartments. They overlap with one another. And once they start overlapping with one another, where are you basically sticking to? Do you think Karna is not a good archer? He is. Do you think Karna doesn't know what he is, where he is, and his background, etc.? He does. But he has stuck to something called Mitra dharma. Duryodhana has given him such a wonderful position when the whole world ridiculed him as something useless. That has prompted him to keep in mind that samskara in the chitta made him to stick to what is called Mitra dharma. he knows pretty well that he is doing certain things in certain places wrong. You can find the examples and quotations for every word which I am talking about in Mahabharata. But the time is the criteria. Therefore, I am restricting only to references, not by reading the text, but only referring to them. Go to read the textbook with this purpose, with this focus in mind. Don't read it as a story. Don't read it as something connected to somebody. No, read it as a textbook that is teaching you as a lesson. Analyze it. Analyze it. Deep analysis. And one more, I'm sorry, I have to point out one more thing here. When you are starting analyzing, remember, you are not analyzing ABC, you are analyzing yourself. That means if I am analyzing, I am analyzing myself. Be careful in watching this point. Be careful. Consciously observe this. What, sir? When you read something, your discriminatory faculty buddhi says, Ananta Krishna, you are not doing this, you are mistake, you are doing wrong in these parameters. But immediately my mind says, no, I did, and try to explain that. Don't do that. Accept as it as a reality of your personality. You are not, after all, telling anybody to the world, you are analyzing yourself. So be frank enough to accept anything that is wrong is pointed against you by the chitta when it is dealing with your assessment part. Then to correct or not is your faculty. That's, we are not on that. But identifying that only gives you a proper result. Anyway, so now what happens? Karna character is talking about the Mitra Dharma. Then one more aspect we have to look at it. What is that one more character? So now you got one point. What is that? You are looking into a mirror. You are looking into a mirror. In that mirror, you see your reflection. Unless you change, the reflection in the mirror will not change. Then why the hell should I look into the mirror? The purpose is, as I am unable to see myself directly, I am seeing myself in a mirror, identifying my loose areas. My hair is not properly groomed. I have not washed my, whatever. Or my shirt is not suiting me for the today's occasion. Do you think if I come and speak in this seminar with a yellow color stripe, red color stripe, violet color stripe shirt, and with all flowery things, do you look at me as a speaker? No, I'm sure about it. But does the shirt speak? It is bloody Ananta Krishna that is speaking. But you are assessing me and my taste by seeing my shirt. Accept this. So there is an occasion, there is a method of presenting yourself. And how do I know that? In looking into the mirror. Mirror will not change my personality unless I change. So this is a reflection and the original. This is exactly what Mahabharata does for you. It has characters. It is reflecting your personality. And it is giving the story about what has ultimately happened to those characters in that book. And how do we learn? The learning process takes place by way of an experience. What is this experience? Experience is, in a crude definition, the result of an action that you ultimately get. Newton's third law of motion operates. For every action, there is equal and opposite reaction. And the experience is a reaction. So it has no independent standing. What has to change is the action. So you have to change your behavioral pattern. Okay. So now what is happening? This experience can be from two methods. Two methods. What are the two methods? One is self-experience, from your own experience. Other is learning from others' experiences. Learning from others' experiences. And when you're reading such textbooks, it is nothing but learning from others' experiences. You may support Karna, you may not support Karna. You may support Dharmaraja, you may not support Dharmaraja. I'm not bothered about it. I am not here to support any of the characters here to say this is the only character you have to follow or this is the only character you have to throw out. No. Because I don't know who you are. I don't know what sort of combinations of the characters which we have discussed about the parameters. The Sattva-Rajas Tamoguna combination, the Dharma, the Kama Moksha requirement combination, and so many other things which we just now spoke. Let us not repeat them. So therefore, you have to look at the experiences of those characters. Now attribute to you, without going into that experiential mode, you are able to correct yourself. That is how the text is going to help you. Now tell me whether to read this textbook or not to read this textbook. And when I say read, let me frankly confess, I made a very bad statement. When I say please hear me, and let me frankly confess, I made a bad statement. What, sir? You want to read as a textbook? You want to hear you when you are speaking? And how do you say that is a bad statement? The fact is, reading is different. Studying is different. Reading is something which you just read and leave it. It has a very, very, very transitory and highly temporary impact on you. But study is where you are reading, you are applying your mind, you are thinking on it, you are relating yourself, you are negating certain things, you are modifying your personality, you are trying to understand certain things, you are trying to weigh good and bad out of it, you are trying to see what is the ultimate result that is going to accrue to you. All these things happen when you are studying a thing. So if I say read Mahabharata, I am wrong. If I say study Mahabharata, I am right. Equally, it is regarding the reading is with eyes, okay? And the second faculty is ears. If you hear me, once it is over, if your college is up, had it been a regular seminar instead of a webinar, probably the college would have wonderfully organized some snack for you, some soft drink for you. So once you take that, you will swallow the speech along with the soft drink and food stuff, and that's the end of the story. You walk out of the gate, you forget everything. But if you listen carefully, so you have to distinguish between reading and studying, hearing and listening. These are the two things which you have to be very conscious of, and kindly study and listen to Mahabharata. That's it. Now, with this in mind, you are seeing your reflection, you are seeing certain characters. Let us talk one small story. Before we start that story, the first sentence is, the first word is dharma, right? I would talk about a dharma also for a while. Dharma is the code of conduct. Do this. You have to be like this. If you have to discharge your function as a putra dharma, you must have all the good character faculties as vidhi, the do it commandment, in place. Equally, the don't do it commandments also, the nishedha vakyas, should also be in place. That is the idealistic putra dharma. So you have idealistic putra dharma, idealistic raja dharma, idealistic mitra dharma, etc. But probably we may not reach the idealistic plane. Let us accept this reality. So the idealistic may not be possible. Here, idealistic is IDEAL. Am I right? Did I get my spelling correct? IDEAL, ideal, idealistic. But I read it, but I become idealistic, IDOListic. I read and sit quiet. Absolutely useless. Because there is no change in your personality. So why are we doing this thing? Is to change ourselves, not to change the whole world. Now, when you are talking about a dharma, what happens is, we confront in our real life certain other things as well, which sound, please understand this word, which sound as if it is a adharma. Immediate follows is, don't do adharma. Don't do adharma. Do dharma, don't do adharma. That is exactly where these texts help us. How? Killing animals is not dharma. I cannot kill any animal which I like. I cannot simply hit and drive over a dog which is on the road, or a cow, or a buffalo, or whatever, or a goat, whatever, or even a human being for that matter. That is adharma. So I'm not supposed to do that. So therefore, there is something called dharma, there is the opposite of it is called adharma. But now in the world you see, if you go and see a meat shop, so many things are already massacred. That is adharma. Therefore, there is something called dharma and adharma. In between there is something else called dharma sukshma. Dharma sukshma. So the finer detail of dharma is dharma sukshma. So what it does is, it discriminates, it distinguishes between a person who is empowered to do that and a person who is not empowered to do that. So just now the example which you spoke about, a soldier has a right to kill, it is his dharma. A common man has no right to kill, it is adharma against him. And what is dharma sukshma? A judge pronouncing an order that this fellow should be hanged. It is also equivalent to killing. He is not a soldier, but is empowered to do that. He is empowered by the constitution to do that. So we have to understand what? Now see how things are widening. The scope of text is widening as we go further deep and deeper. Deepest. So the dharma has to be understood, and to whom the dharma applies and whom not to dharma applies. So therefore, if a soldier kills, yes, that man, my friend who is my neighborhood, he wears that military dress, goes with a rifle and kills everybody. I too can do that by just wearing the dress. No, I can't become a soldier just by wearing my dress. So I have to have the inner quality. I should be empowered to do that. So that empowerment is done by certain things. Let us not go into those details. This exactly is what is defining dharma. And you have to understand the dharma sukshma. Once you understand the dharma and the dharma sukshma, you will also understand what is adharma. This is exactly the point on which you will find in Mahabharata the dharma vyadhopakhyanam. Many of you know the story. If you don't know, just go back and refer to textbook or ask your teachers, they will explain you better. So dharma vyadhopakhyanam decides about the distinction, how to distinguish the finer detail between dharma and adharma by understanding the dharma sukshma. For whom are we studying this? To please my principal? To please my teacher? To please my parents? Absolutely nonsense. To modify me to be a better personality. This is the purport of Mahabharata. This is the purport of the word dharma. So dharma is a two-lettered word which encompasses in it a wonderful things and a panorama of things in it. It's a Pandora's box. Open it, you have so many things in it. And each person, the dharma changes. I have to be righteous in my office. I have to feed my children because I am a father. I have to earn money because I am a father. I cannot take bribe and do nonsensical things in my office because I am a what you call bhrutya dharma there. I have to behave properly as a samajika dharma there when I am traveling and going to the office, when I am meeting my friends, and I have a mitra dharma over with me. See, look at me, one personality having so many dharmas entangled with one another. And by doing justification to one dharma, my behavior should not do unjust thing to another dharma within me. So there we have to have the skill of balancing the dharmas. And this balancing trick of dharma is called dharma sukshma, knowing the dharma sukshma. Look at it. Dharmaraja never spoke lies. Dharmaraja never spoke lies. So the other man would certainly believe whatever he says. Take this example. Be careful about this example. So Krishna comes and says, we are unable to handle Dronacharya. He is like a fiery ball. Take care of him. Nobody can stop him. So Dharma, you have only one job to say. You say Ashwathama Hataha. The moment he hears that his son is no more, he is dead in the battlefield, he would shun his arms. Dharmaraja said, no, I don't want to do that. Krishna says, I have a solution for this. Look at Krishna. Krishna is such a character that he knows how to take a wrong route in a right manner. Not that he is taking a wrong route, but he is finding a solution called Dharma Sukshma to get over a tricky situation, a difficult situation, to maneuver a difficult situation, still continuing to be in the path of Dharma. That is a very particular skill Krishna exhibits throughout the text. Throughout the text. So therefore, that is how Krishna comes into play. He says, Ashwathama Hataha Kunjaraha. There is an elephant by name Ashwathama. Dharmaraja, what all he said is, an elephant by name Ashwathama died. And he killed an elephant. So there is no falsehood in it. He did set truth to his consciousness. But he got the end result also. So therefore, this is Dharma Sukshma. I am just giving an example. Dharma Vyadha Upakshana is one more example. And communication skills. Look at Dushyanta Damayanti story. The Dushyanta and Damayanti story, when Dushyanta comes and asks for the hand of Damayanti, Shakuntala, I'm sorry, Dushyanta and Shakuntala, Nala Damayanti and Dushyanta Shakuntala. Shakuntala, she makes that if I forbear a son, he should become the king. She has an over negotiation skills tablet on the table. When an offer is made by Dushyanta, look at this from these parameters now. Don't look Dushyanta and Shakuntala as a story. Look at the behavioral patterns. Look at how they speak and what is the precision which they speak. The words are so choosy in their statements. So making stuffy statement doesn't help us, but the word should be choosy. The appropriate word has to be used over there. Then Dushyanta has his own style of thinking. He says, okay, today I am going to marry her. What is the guarantee that she is going to beget a child? Okay, if she begets a child, what is the guarantee that it should be a male child? And what is the guarantee that after so many years that fellow will survive? Today my purpose is served. Probably, I am not demeaning Dushyanta. I am only trying to project you how we can look at differently. So they have their own presentation styles. They have their own, what you look at it here is, you have your own line of defense or thought process, which is preventing you or providing you an opportunity to proceed further or not to proceed further. This is how the whole Mahabharata, each episode in Mahabharata, each point. Now look at the same Shakuntala when she goes to the Dushyanta's courtroom. When Dushyanta is sitting as a king, here this man was a person having lust, but there he is behaving like a king, the Raja Dharma that prevailed, and if he is not properly behaving himself, his whole world will not behave properly. Therefore he took a stand that to disown Shakuntala. Look at the situations, look at the dharma that is prevailing on the very same person. Now look at what Shakuntala is saying. In Telugu you have wonderful poem, Nutajala Puritulambulagunu. So she says, truth is the ultimate virtue, mister. She wants Dushyanta. The entire dramatic expression of story there will teach you how to handle a superior personality and still point out your point of argument without demeaning him before the entire world, but yet you make your point. Is this not a skill required by any of the younger generation today? This is what we require. This is how we have to look at a scripture. And so now this is how the whole thing goes in the Mahabharata. Now I have another 10 minutes with me to 10, I think, if I am not wrong. 10 minutes are there. Let us go into the details of a little more into this. Now, therefore, how we have to look at Mahabharata? It is an aspect of personality development. It is a combination of dharma, artha, kama, and moksha. So now, when we are talking about this dharma, artha, kama, moksha concept of Mahabharata, we should always be careful about and see, look at the things that what it speaks. And now, let us go into a situation where entire Mahabharata, the story, everything goes on well, fine, fair enough. Then the Mahabharata battle happens, excellent. Those who survived, survived. Those who died, died. Everything is, let us not go into that long story cut short. Dharmaraja has convened a meeting. With whom? Dharmaraja, Dharma, Arjuna, Bhima, Arjuna, Nakula, Sahadeva, and Vidura. Vidura is said to be the embodiment of Dharma in those days. Then he calls them from 129th chapter of Shanti Parva, the culminating chapters. In the Shanti Parva, 129th chapter to 183, this dharma, artha, kama, moksha aspects are elaborately consolidated. So what all the text that happened till then has given you the pointers by way of examples of, say, Dushyanta story or Nala story or Dharma Vyada Upakyanam or whatever, or in the Yuddha, or the son coming and giving bigger children, Pandu Raja, Dharma, all, forget about it. Now you are consolidating it. This is exactly what your teachers do in the classroom. They teach you a lesson, they explain you in detail, and finally they consolidate the whole lesson and give you a capsule of it. Something similar to that exercise happened in Shanti Parva. In that as well, in those chapters as well, chapter 167 has a crucial role to play. Why crucial role to play? Because this chapter is where the dharma, artha, kama, moksha aspects are codified and spelled out in 51 stanzas. So it is not sufficient to read only this chapter and get out. No, sorry. You have to read the entire thing to understand what it is said. As it took me for 1.5 hours to talk about what is dharma, artha, kama, moksha, if at all I have really spoken. If at all I made a meaning of what I spoke. To you, not to me. I made a meaning for myself. Anyway, then he calls and says, look, my dear friends, don't hesitate. What he says? Don't hesitate. And he says, dharme cha arthe cha kame cha lokavrittihi samahita tesham gariyas katamaha madhyamakah ko laguscha kaha. Sir, you have seen the whole worldly affairs. Lokavrittihi. Lokavrittihi is a wonderful word. Please remember this. What is lokavrittihi? Vrittihi is a behavior pattern. Let us take it that way. Lokaha means what? Number one, it means society. Number two, it means also individual in Sanskrit. How can loka be an individual? Just because it suits me, I am using that meaning. I think somebody of you listening to this would certainly think of this stuff. There cannot be any second thought. You need not express it to me, but you have might have thought it. Now tell me, what is the word we use for parliament? Loka Sabha. Loka Sabha means what? Members of parliament. Where they gather is Loka Sabha. Members are human beings or not? Lokaha is also a place to live in, a society, and an individual also. One word lokaha is talking about a human being, the society, and the world we are living in. And these three things should live in harmony. So one loka being happy, the other loka unhappy, the whole loka being nonsense is not what we are expecting to. So what he says is, from your experiences of lokavrittihi, that means your individual experience, your experience as a member of the society, in this world, what you understand about dharma, artha, and kama, and moksha. This is what you speak. That's where he said, first of all, Vidura takes his turn. And what is he asking? He is talking about three things: dharma, artha, kama, not moksha, mind you. He said, dharme cha arthe cha kame cha lokavrittihi samahita. So these three things, which is the best one? Gariyasi. Which is the madhyama? Which is the adhama? Which is better? Which is good? Which is better? Which is best? In the hierarchy. Vidura says, then, if I have to win all these three, his questions, answer me one simple thing, my dear friends. Do you want to know all these things? Go back to Mahabharata. And before going back to Mahabharata, do you really require these things? Yes, you need require them. Kasmin chatma vidhatyasya trivarga vijayaya vai samhrishta naishtikam vakyam yadha nadvaktum arhatha. Out of these three, on which I have to focus my mind? This is the question Dharmaraja asks. Now Vidura comes and says, bahusrutyam tapasyagra shraddha yajna kriya kshama bhava shuddhirdaya satyam samyamaschatma sampadaha. Looking at various shastras, tapas means penance. That means having a focused attention towards something. Tyagam, leaving something. That means you disown something intentionally and willfully, without any pain. Shraddha, yajnam is a pointer for action. Kshama, forbearance, manashuddhi, daya, satyam, and indriya nigraham. These are the final parameters that a person should own, is my understanding of things, is what Vidura said. And it further goes to say that it is only because of dharma Dharma and dharma alone. Everybody has crossed the ocean of samsara. Therefore, everything is there in dharma, everything shall have to be in dharma, and you will survive, you will attain anything only and only if you follow dharma. This is the understanding of Vidura. So, with all his life experience, mind you, he has consulted to say dharma is essential. So, he has put in the back burner Ardha Kamas. Ardha Kama is put in the back burner by Vidura. Now then what happens? He looks at it, Arjuna. Arjuna comes forward and says, my dear brother, you know Arjuna is a warrior. So he always talks about action plan. He says, my dear brother, this is a karma bhumi, a place where we have to act upon. So while acting upon, what is important is money, ardha. So according to me, my dear brother, my experience of the world says that it is only artha. Then Bhima says it is kama, because unless you have a wish, unless you have a desire, where is the question of getting things? So therefore, whether you want dharma, to follow dharma, what is that required? You have to have an intention. So intention is the prerogative. Sir, that is what people say. You have to aim and also you have to act. Having a goal is not sufficient. You have to act upon it. This is precisely what is explained in the entire Mahabharata. Set your goal and action plan. How? Within the given parameters in a proper manner. This is how the whole Mahabharata goes to say, and that is where the dharma, ardha, kama, moksha are discussed, explained, demonstrated, threadbare to suit all the five faculties by our jnanendriyas, that is, and karmendriyas, by the different combinations of our sattva, rajas, tamo gunas, and how to attain these four gunas called dharma, artha, kama. These three are worldly. Moksha is beyond the world experience. Some people want beyond the world experience, and some people define moksha as the peace that you attain even in this world. So therefore, all these four are required, and how that can be utilized best way is well explained in Mahabharata through various characters which reflect our own personality, and therefore Mahabharata attains the importance, assumes and asserts without second thought that yedi hasti tadanyatra yanne hasti na tat kvachet. That is the authority with which Vyasa said, and that is the promise he made, that is the vow he has taken, and he has demonstrated through the entire 1 lakh verses. So my dear friends, I think I am done with my topic. Whether I did it properly or not, I am not sure about it. Let it be frank. You are the better recipients. So if I made at least 1 point to enter your mind and a point to think over and try to modify yourself for the betterment of your own self, I think I am successful. Else, this failure is not a failure, because I did my dharma. It is up to you to perform your dharma to attain whatever ardha you want to achieve, and that is what your karma is all about. You get liberated from the nonsensical things, and that is the moksha which you have to attain. May God bless you with everything, and I thank the organizers for giving me this wonderful opportunity to share my few thoughts on the given topic with the students, and if the students got any benefit out of it, I'm happy about it. Thank you very much. The time given to me is up to 12:30. It is up now. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
May God bless you. And I thank the organizers for giving me this wonderful opportunity to share my thoughts on the given topic with the
Hello. Hello.
Sushma garu వినపడుతున్నారు మీరు.
Okay. Sir, thank you, sir, for such inspirational words. We came to know that what is the difference between listening and hearing and studying and reading. అండ్ జగద్గురు అయినటువంటి కృష్ణ భగవాను చేత చెప్పబడినటువంటి భగవద్గీతని భీష్ముని చేత మరలా చెప్పించుకున్నట్టుగా వ్యాసుని కృతి అయినటువంటి మహాభారతాన్ని మీ ద్వారా మాకు వినగలిగేటటువంటి అదృష్టం కలిగింది. అందుకు మేమంతా కూడా ఎంతో కృతార్థులము. మీరు చెప్పినటువంటి యూ డిడ్ యువర్ ధర్మ అల్టిమేట్లీ సార్. Now it is our turn to perform it in each and every point in our life. Okay, thank you, sir. Now I request Likhita to say to give vote of thanks. Likhita.
Good afternoon, everyone. I want to thank on behalf of Department of Sanskrit, our management, our principal, Dr. Sneeta ma'am, and our vice principal, Dr. Rajri ma'am. I would like to specially thank our speaker, N.V. Ananthakrishna sir, who honored this webinar with valuable information and inspirational thoughts. I would like to specially thank our ICT team, Sunanda ma'am, Mangavani ma'am, and Vidyalakshmi ma'am. I want to thank our participants for making this webinar as a grand success. Once again, I thank one and all. Thank you.
Thank you.